If you love apple cobbler, then you're not going to want to miss today's recipe. It's an apple cobbler that has, wait for it, a Snickerdoodle cookie topping. You're not going to want to miss it. Hey everyone, it's Dorothy with crazyforcrust.com and welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how to make one of my favorite apple recipes, Snickerdoodle apple cobbler. That's right, I said Snickerdoodle. It's an apple cobbler recipe with some cinnamon and brown sugar apples that's topped with Snickerdoodle cookies instead of a traditional cobbler biscuit-like topping. Once you make this recipe, you're never going to want to make regular old cobbler again. For more delicious desserts and easy recipes, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Now let's get in the kitchen. There's a few parts to this recipe, so let's just take them one by one. First thing we're going to start with is the Snickerdoodle cookie topping. That starts with 1½ sticks or 3/4 cup of unsalted butter, softened. Add that to a large bowl that you're going to use a hand mixer with, or you could use a stand mixer fitted with the paddle attachment. Add 3/4 cup of sugar to the butter and cream them until they're nice and fluffy. Then add 1 egg and a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Mix those together until they're nice and combined. Then you're going to add 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of cream of tartar, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. The cream of tartar is what gives it that tang of a Snickerdoodle, and the baking soda is what's going to help it get nice and have that cookie-like texture. Then add in 2 cups of flour and just mix this until a cookie dough forms. Once you have the cookie dough, you're going to set it aside. And we're gonna mix together the topping, which is 1/3 cup of granulated sugar and 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. Just stir those together in a small bowl and set that aside. And now it's time to deal with the apple part of our apple cobbler. I'm using Granny Smith apples today because there's a lot of sugar in the cookie and in the cinnamon sugar topping, but you can use any apples that you like. I'm using 3 pounds of Granny Smith apples, and all you need to do is peel and core them. I like to use my handy dandy apple peeler. It's like a one-stop shop. I got this on Amazon. It's one of my favorite kitchen tools. I highly recommend it, but you could also just use an apple peeler and a corer and slice those into nice thin strips. Now, I like to cook my apples before I put them in a cobbler or a pie. That way they're nice and soft when I'm eating the cobbler and they don't bounce back at me. I don't like apples that bounce back at me. So to cook my apples, melt 1/4 cup of unsalted butter in a large skillet. And then you're gonna add your apples, 1/2 cup of brown sugar, and a teaspoon of cinnamon. Just stir that together and cook. You can cover it if you want to speed up the process, but you're gonna cook it until the apples get a little bit translucent. It's gonna take about 5 to 8 minutes. It depends on what size skillet you're using. Once the apples are cooked, now you have a decision. If you're using a skillet that is oven safe, that means that the handle's not plastic and the skillet can go in the oven, we can just make the whole thing in our skillet. But if you don't have an oven safe skillet, go ahead and transfer the apples to a 9 by 13 inch baking dish. Then just take pieces of that cookie dough that we made and top it all over the apples. I like to take little bits of it with my fingers and press it flat and then place it evenly all over the apples. Then take that cinnamon sugar we made and sprinkle it all over the top. And now it's time for the oven. I'm just gonna bake this at 350 degrees until the cookies are done. It's about 20 to 25 minutes. The apples will be bubbling around the edges and the cookies will not look glossy in the center. And you have apple cobbler. I love serving this a la mode with ice cream. It's got those soft apples and that Snickerdoodle cookie. The cinnamon with the cookie pairs so well with the apples. This is my favorite way and the only way I make cobbler now. I love the pairing of the Snickerdoodle with the apple. This is my favorite cobbler recipe. I know it's gonna be yours too. Leave me a comment and let me know your favorite apple recipe for the fall. I'm gonna go enjoy this plate of cobbler. You keep watching.